is an institution. In Gujarat, stable, same root, stir, stir. Yeah. So when you make something that lasts for a long time, now we'll talk about what is the kind of thing in a moment. But why do human beings need to make institutions? Wouldn't it be nice if there were no fixed ways of doing things, that you could do whatever you liked, like a antelope in a forest, or 2 days ago or yesterday I think some lions were seen at near Amreli. So maybe like a lion, if you could go around, wouldn't it be nice? Why do you have to have rules and regulations and all these things like institutions? You have to go to college and you have to pass the exams and you have to do all those things. Why did human beings create all this jamila?
સર, એવી કોઈ જગ્યા કે જ્યાં બધા ભેગા થઈને પોતાના વિચાર રજૂ કરી શકે, એવું કહી શકાય?
Just a minute.
Sorry, I lost my connection for a while. Yeah, I'm back. So we'll talk about that, Kratagna, about what you said in a while, in a minute.
મેં સર એવું કીધું કે એવી જગ્યા કે જ્યાં બધા ભેગા થઈને પોતાના વિચારો રજૂ કરી શકે અને એના ઉપર ડિસ્કશન થાય ને કંઈક એનો આઉટપુટ નીકળે.
હા, પણ ધારો કે આપણા સમાજમાં લગ્નની સંસ્થા છે. The institution of marriage is one of the sacred institutions of Indian life. So then, it is not a place where people meet to discuss and express their views. There's some other thing.
એવી જગ્યા કહી શકાય કે જ્યાં એકબીજાને ઓળખતા નથી પણ ઇન્ટ્રોડ્યુસ કરવું છે ને પોતાની લાઈફ આગળ વધારવી છે તો પોતાની એક કે ને બાયોડેટા ટાઈપ, તો ત્યાં બધા એક રજૂઆત કરશે.
પણ જો તમે એક કુટુંબમાં જન્મો, you were born in a family, you grew up in a family, that family has got certain accepted ways of behavior. Yes, you all speak Gujarati and you behave in a certain way. Now the family is an institution in which you had no choice. There was no question of introducing yourself. You were just born into that family. Yeah? Or let us say you are staying in a neighborhood in Rajkot or wherever, and the group of people who live there have friendship with each other, or even they just know each other by face. They can see each other on the streets and they know that this person is from my neighborhood. And in that neighborhood, maybe there is an unwritten agreement that none of us will cook non-vegetarian food here. So the institution of the neighborhood is something in which you had no choice. So, first of all, I would like to put to you that institutions are not this or that place, they are a mode of making certain relationships comparatively permanent, fixed. For example, what is the relationship between a mother and a son, or mother and daughter? It is the institution of the family, which, for example, there are many ways in which that institution is organized. In Africa, for example, um, the community is not organized in terms of family, which consists of father, mother, children, but it is organized in terms of age group. So everybody who is born between certain year to certain year, all those boys call each other brothers. All those girls call each other. All of them call everybody who is their mother's age mother, and who is their father's age father in the village. And in the Masais, for example, they even live in not in houses where 4 or 5 people, father, mother, children are there, but age groups. So everybody who is of college going age, let us say, Param and Kush and who else, Milan, they will all be staying in one building, one house. Their parents will be staying in another set of houses. Then their sisters will be staying in another house. Palak and Krutagna and Vedanshi and Juhi and all those people, Bhavi, they will be staying in another house. So there will be the house of all the girls of a particular age group. There will be the house of all the boys of a particular age group. There will be the house of elders. That is how that society is organized. So family means something else there. Family means my whole village. But my house means my brothers. So the normal understanding of institutions, we need to expand a little bit. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Okay. So what I had begun to say was that human beings are not like lions. They can't live alone. Suppose you were let free into the forest. Nobody is stopping you, but suppose you were left free in the forest. Manan, you are put in the forest. Will you be able to survive? Or we take Vedachi and say, go and stay in Gir. Now here is, you find whatever to eat and you stay. You won't be able to. Human beings need each other's support. They are comparatively weak animals. They can't go and jump on another animal and kill it and eat it, no? Or they can't go around eating grass. So they form groups. Human beings live in groups. Now, groups are very difficult things. How do you achieve some kind of a coherence in a group? Somebody says something, somebody else wants to do something else. Param કહે છે મારે પેલી બાજુ ઝાડ દેખાય છે ને એ રસ્તામાં ઉપર જઈએ આપણે. તો નિસર્ગને એમ થાય ના, એ આપણે ઝાડ તરફ શું કામ જવું, ઉપર શું કામ જવું, આપણે સાઈડમાં અહીંયા નીચે ઉતરી જઈએ ખીણમાં, તરત જ ઝઘડો થયો. How do we decide? So rules come up. So Param was born 5 minutes before Nisarg, and therefore he has priority. Therefore, what he says goes. So we say, let's say that according to age, you have greater or lesser status in your group. Say, I'm just forming a rule. It is not true, of course. Fortunately, it's not like that. But it could be so. So groups need rules. Rules of interaction, rules of behavior. And these rules need to last for some time. They can't just be formed now and changed tomorrow. Then nobody can depend on them. So you will have to know that, okay, I have been farming on this land. Does this land belong to me or not? Will my children be able to farm this land? So you will have to have rules which last for some time. So there is a difference between a facility. Let us say a library is a facility. But the institution of knowledge is an institution. Library is a particular kind of facility. Or let us say internet is a facility. But the institution of knowledge or communication is a longer lasting thing. So human beings create these kind of long lasting sets of rules. By long lasting, we need not mean permanent, but we'll come to that in a while. What are the institutions for? First of all, it is for reproduction. Who can produce a child with whom? And under what arrangements? This is the most important kind of institution. Because it's the most important act of ensuring continuity of humankind. ખલાસ થઈ જશે ને નહીં? એટલે તમારો વંશ ચાલુ રહેવો જોઈએ. આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં જેને એમ કહીએ, વંશ પરંપરા. So that is very important. But you can't have, suppose you didn't have any rules in that. Then you will have really chaotic things. Because who will take care of the children then? If there isn't any fixed notion in this society, such and such had relations with so and so, they had a child, they are responsible, they form a unit, then that gives a certain continuity, gives a certain responsibility, and so on. So the most important are the institutions which govern the reproduction of both the species as well as the knowledge that goes with it, or the ways of survival that they have evolved. So suppose you have found that such and such fruit is good for you and such fruit is poisonous. That knowledge should go to next generation so that they can live. Or you have learned that if I dig the soil and if I put the dry seeds in and if I water it, then some plant will grow and out of that I will get some more food. That knowledge has to go to the next generation. So the society needs what you formed as rules is called society, and the institutions of society regulate everything that happens in that society. And those have to continue. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, I also made a difference between facility and institution. Facility can change. For example, today I have library. Tomorrow I might have Google. That may not be, or I might have digital library. Or I might have storytelling sessions. Suppose I didn't have library, I had kathas. So in katha, you tell every week there is a katha going on in which they tell you કે દુનિયા કેવી રીતે બની. કે પહેલા બ્રહ્મા આવીને પછી ફલાણું આમ થયું ને એમાંથી આમ થયું ને એમાંથી આમ થયું ને કરતા કરતા પછી આજે તમે ઊભા છો. એમ વાર્તા કહેતા એ નોલેજ થયું. Not in library. It's an oral form, oral knowledge. So the facility is one thing. The institution is something that holds it for a long, long time. There's another reason why human beings need to have this, which I forgot to say. And that is that the human child is the most dependent creature amongst all the animal children. You see, an elephant is born, and within minutes, the small elephant is trying to walk. I don't know if you have seen. You know, its trunk is moving around like this without control. Or you see a puppy, and within minutes, the puppies know what to do. Go straight to the mother. Huh? Human children don't know anything. For months, for years, they can't take care of themselves. You take a human child and leave it like a buffalo or an elephant, it will die. So the human child needs somebody who takes care of it. For that, you need the institution of motherhood or parentage, the institution of parentage. It says, Nana, to apnu chokru che bapa. ભલે ને ગમે એવું પણ છે તો આપણું. That whole thing, that sense is created by the institution of the family. And then the institution grows, because now the child grows up. What should it speak? Well, obviously it should speak the language that our parents are speaking. Yes? Suppose હમણાં ઉઠીને એક છોકરું મોટું થતું હોય, કાઠિયાવાડમાં જન્મ્યું છે, રાજકોટમાં, અને અચાનક ફ્રેન્ચમાં બોલવા માંડે તો બ્રિંદા તાતે એવું થયું નથી ને. So there is an entire thing that goes with it. Then the family says, in our family, we do like this. I listen something, they will say, no, 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 એવું નહીં કરવાનું, એવું નહીં કરવાનું, આપણે એવું ના કરીએ. A child is very curious and it is trying to pick up an insect. And say, hey, na kar, એવું ના કરે. Yeah. So this is something, these are all the kinds of customary behavior points which are continued by the family. So if we look at dictionaries, they say some of the definitions of the institution. One of the definition is a stable, valued, recurring pattern of behavior. Stable, valued, recurring, again and again, pattern of behavior. That's an institution. Another definition says it's an integrated system of rules that structure social interactions. So, integrated system of rules. That means not just one set of rules. Suppose કે તમે you are part of a Gujarati family. So family na rules આવા છે. But that also relates to how you will speak the language. What are the words you will never use in polite conversation? What are the relations between you and non-Gujarati speaking people? All those are, they are interconnected. Rules are interconnected. So the moment you are born a boy in a Saurashtra family, or you are born a girl in a Saurashtra family, then a whole set of other rules comes into play immediately, which might be different from a Marathi family, or which might be different from a Papua New Guinea family. So the institutional rules are interconnected. That's the next thing, integrated system of rules. Another definition says it's the rules of the game in a society. So in any society, you have to live, you have to survive, you have to prosper, you have to grow. For that, there are rules of the game. You can do this, you can't do that. પોતાની તારી વસ્તુ નથી, આ ન લેવાય નહીં, મૂકી દે. આપણી નથી એવું કે નહીં મા બાપ, અથવા તારી પાસે છે, જો એને આપતો થોડુંક, એને પણ ચોકલેટ ખાવી છે, આપ. એવું ના કરાય. એકલ સુડા નહીં થવાનું. એકલા ખાય અને ગાલ પચોળિયા થાય, એવી કહેવત બનાવી આપણે એને. તમને કીધી હતી કે નહીં કોઈએ, મા બાપે કીધી હતી આવી કહેવત? એકલા ખાય અને ગાલ પચોળિયા થાય. ગાલ પચોળિયા એટલે શું ખબર છે? હવે તો બહુ થતા નથી લોકોને. પહેલાના વખતમાં બહુ થતા. It was a viral actually. It's quite horrible. But anyway, so these are rules of the game. Then last definition I will read is the definition which says humanly devised constraints that structure economic and social interactions. Humanly devised constraints. એટલે આપણે માણસે જ ઘડી કાઢેલા છે. Man-made rules which constrain, which say you can do this, you can't do that. That property belongs to so and so, you can't take it. If you do, we'll put you in jail, right? Or so and so is married to so and so, you can't have relations with her. If you do, we can accuse you of adultery and we'll put you in jail, right? So a society can build a set of constraints. Institutions are those that hold together the constraints that a society builds. These are built over a long period of time. And then to give some strength to these beliefs. એટલે કાલે ઉઠીને કોઈ એમ કે મને કઈ નથી પડી, એ તો તું કહેશ કે તારું છે, મારામાં વધારે શક્તિ છે, લઈ લેવું, આપી દે મને. So then society has built other things. It has built religion, which says you will be your karma. You will, in next life, you will suffer. So it will build religion, it will build philosophy, it builds all the supporting structures for the institutions. so that the rules of the institution get some strength. They are not just હું નથી માનતો એવું કઈ ચાલ્યો ન જાય કોઈ નિસર્ગ તાકાત છે એવી રીતે કરવાની ના હોય બરાબર ને પણ so we'll come to whether those rules can be changed or not. We'll talk about it towards later. So now, what are the things for which rules are made? This is the next thing we should talk about. So there are different formats of institutions. There is the family, there is the community, there are occasions or stages of life. For example, childhood, teenage, youth, middle age, old age. All those are also institutions. કઈ વાંધો નહીં બાળક છે કરે એનું બહુ આપણે નહીં કરવાનું હે બાળક છે ભૂલ થઈ ગઈ આવું આમ થાળીમાંથી ખાવાનું લઈને આમ બધે ચોપડીને ગંદુ કર્યું એવું કરાય બાળક છે કઈ વાંધો નહીં ધોઈ નાખશું સાફ પછી હવે ચાઇલ્ડહુડ પેલું એકદમ બાળક toddler. And the next one is when child is supposed to behave responsibly. And that varies from culture to culture. In many cultures, up to a very long time, children are allowed to do whatever they want to do. In some cultures, from very early on, they are supposed to follow certain rules. And this varies culture. So there is these stages of life. Then there are the institutions or the formats of institutions which continue knowledge. એટલે આપણે suppose you say કે આપણે ઘરગથ્થુ દવા હે આપણે પેટમાં દુખે ને તો થોડુંક ફલાણું કરી લેવું દહીં ને જીરું શેકી દહીં ને એ ખાઈ જવું મટી જશે હા થોડા જુલાબ લઈ લેવો તો એ બધું ક્યાંથી આવે? So that is the lore, that is knowledge which is floating from mother to daughter to son to, and going from generation to generation. That is one kind of knowledge. Then there is systematized knowledge. So, for example, what happens, what is the solar system? So there was some belief earlier of a different kind that Earth is in the center and everything is moving around it. Then they said, no. The sun is in the center, the planets are moving around like that. So there was some systematized study of something as a result of which a knowledge came, and that knowledge was conveyed to children at first through informal means, and then later formally. So schools were formed. Before, there weren't schools. એટલે કૃતજ્ઞાને ગાવા શીખવું હોય તો એ કોઈ ફલાણા બેન પાસે જાય એને આવડે છે એની પાસે જઈને શીખે સ્કૂલ ન હોય સ્કૂલ ક્યારથી ચાલુ થઈ? When the factories came, when industrialization happened, it was thought that you can industrially produce architects, for example. So you have a school of architecture and every year you produce 50-60 architects. Right? It's an industrial production unit. Or You produce 12th standard graduates. You produce doctors. You produce lawyers. You produce whatever your society feels is required on an industrial basis. That's how the schools came. So the school is an institution which industrialized the production and continuance of knowledge. Isn't that an interesting way to look at it? Huh? That is why it collected so much machinery of teaching. Qualified teachers, libraries, workshops, all such things. This is like a production unit, which is also true for many of the other things that human beings did in the 20th century, late 19th and early 20th century. Health was made into an industrial product. So, if you were not well, you went to a hospital, which was a kind of factory where they did things to your body and they claimed to make you better. Of course, there are some like Ivan Illich who say that hospitals make you sick because that is where all the infections gather. And so you can go and catch infections at hospitals. So it's a very interesting, different view. But it's the industrialization of education, of health, then industrialization of marriage. You know, all these websites, marriage bureaus, that's the industrialization of marriage. That there are boys, million girls. Now you make a website in which they can match and suddenly they get options, 20 options. Yeah. And they can look up each of the options and say, oh, this one looks interesting. Boom. And maybe it works. And then they get married. So there you could industrialize that. You could industrialize the law. You could So this, the characteristic of 20th century was to industrialize institutions. And the characteristic of 21st century is going to be the dismantling of industrial institutions, because it will be possible to have small scale and self-initiated. So you can learn without going to a college by enrolling for online courses, or you can travel somewhere to go and learn something, and so on. This will become more and more possible. So institutions will change because of the technological change, because of the change in outlook of people, because of the change that they want more independent agency. They want to be able to do things on their own. They don't want to be part of a big herd of people. They don't want to be part of thousands. They want to be unique individuals. This is going to be the urge of institutions. Anyway, so there are different formats of institutions. And for each of them, different kind of controls, different kind of rules are made. So family matters. If you have families, let's say you have nuclear family, which means there is father, mother, some children, 2, 3, maybe 1. That's a nuclear family. Nuclear family, what are the rules? Okay. In a particular kind of society, nuclear family means father goes and earns money. Mother cooks the food. Then you have a new movement which says, no. If one person's income will never be enough. And women are also getting educated. So why should they sit at home? Why should they only cook? So it happens next. Both of them work. But then one thing doesn't change. Woman still does all the housework also. And the man doesn't do anything. So that is a transition phase in an institution. That is family, which was centered on the man as the earner and the mother as the provider is changing into both having equal roles, but yet not yet. So these are the kind of things that are happening in institutions which are supposed to be stable, but there are always changes going on. So the rules for a family will be of a certain kind. The rules for a company will be different. The rules for a small office of 10 people will be there. The rules for a cricket team will be there. The rules for a Yuvak Mandal will be there. So there are all rules according to the different kind of institutions. So if you have a knowledge, let us say, then the rule is knowledge belongs to everybody. Therefore, library books should be available to all. All you need to do is register as a member. Then when you register as a member, you agree to the rule that whichever book you take, you will take back after 15 days. If you don't take back in 15 days, you will pay a fine. That is the rule that you agree to. So with that, you are able to regulate the flow of knowledge in a certain group of people. Everybody who stays in Rajkot can become member of the Rajkot Public Library, and they can get books from there, and they have to return them, etc. Everybody who studies at IPSA has a right to become a member of the library and take books. I don't know, maybe you are allowed to take 2 books or something like that for 15 days, then you have to give it back. So there is a way in which that particular institution of knowledge is regulating so that for the benefit of all. Otherwise, Brinda will take the books and she won't give them to anybody else, and they will stay in her office for all those 15 days, much more, maybe 6 months she will keep. I used to have a teacher like that. લઈને ચાલ્યા જાય પછી આપે જ નહીં લાઇબ્રેરીમાં પાછા. માંડ લાઇબ્રેરીની પાછળ પડે ત્યારે આપે. એવું વૃંદા નથી કરતી, પણ ધારો કે કરતી હોત તો એવું શક્ય છે. Then it is not for the benefit of all. So that for the benefit of all, the rules have to be made. So there are rules regarding the format of institution, and every format will involve different kinds of rules, and one can discuss the good and bad parts of the rules. Accordingly, an architecture will come. Now you keep in mind that each rule results in a certain architecture. એટલે કે લાઇબ્રેરીમાં એવું હોય કે તમારે ચોપડી લ્યો પછી ડેસ્ક ઉપર આવીને છાપો મરાવવો પડે, ડેટ સ્ટેમ્પ. Therefore, library cannot have 6 doors going in and coming out. I will sit in the garden and I will do this and I will walk in, I'll come with a cup of tea, go through, and I needed my sandwich, I was feeling hungry. None of that. You enter through one door, you go and select your book, you go to the desk, get it stamped, and then take it. That is to ensure that books don't get stolen. So it is like that the architecture of the library as a storehouse of books which can be borrowed has to be an architecture with one door. Simple. Control. And then that leads to the form of the library. When James Stirling designed the Cambridge University Library, he made a central desk, and the whole thing was a kind of a arc like that. You could see everything. You could see all the shelves. So if there was some rascal taking a book and cutting out pages, the librarian could see from here, sitting here. So that was a form of a library. Library is a central organization in many ways. It is centered around the control desk. You see Alvar Aalto's libraries, you'll see James Sterling, you see all the libraries that were built, they contain something in which the control unit is the most important point. All the visual lines meet there. So the rules of an institution create the form of its architecture. Now, suppose we had another kind of like a knowledge system. We said, Papa, આમ કઈ ચોપડી કોઈની ન હોય, ચોપડી કોઈની ન. એટલે મારા સિદ્ધાંત પ્રમાણે કહું કે પેલા વિનોબા ભાવે કહ્યું હતું, થોડું ગુજરાતીમાં બોલું તો વાંધો નથી ને? કોઈ એવા છે કે who don't understand? But sometimes it's more fun to say it in Gujarati. So anyway, yeah, let me continue. Because nobody is saying no, so I will continue. So, વિનોબા ભાવે એમ કહ્યું કે ખેડે તેની જમીન, જમીન કોઈની નથી. કુદરતે તો જમીન આમ બનાવી છે, પછી માણસ એમાં આવ્યા છે ને તમે ખેડો તો એટલી જમીન તમારી, જ્યાં સુધી ખેડો ત્યાં સુધી. એના ઉપર તમે આમ જપ્ત કરી લ્યો ને પછી માલિકી ને એવું બધું નહીં, એવું વિનોબા ભાવે કહ્યું. એટલે મને વિચાર આવ્યો, હું ભણાવતો હતો ત્યારે, કે વાંચે તેની ચોપડી, ચોપડી કોઈ નહીં, વાંચે તેની ચોપડી. હવે ધારો કે આપણે સપોઝ વી ડિઝાઇન અ લાઇબ્રેરી in which there is a space with all roads coming from all kinds of sides, and there are shelves, and there are books, and people come, they have old books from home, they come and they put their books, they take some other books and go, and everybody puts books, takes books, put books, take books, and it becomes a library which is never the same. What might be the kind of thing that might happen there? It might be a very interesting. So the form of the library depends on the rules of the library. The form of the house depends on the rules of the family. The form of the school depends on the rules of the education pattern. Yeah. So you are in cohorts of certain age groups or and so on. So the first set of rules is regarding the types of different. I'm taking much longer than I should actually. I have just finished this first point and there are 6 other points. I don't know what we will do. Is it okay? I can continue for a while? Huh?
Yes, sir.
એટલે સ્ટુડન્ટ એવું છે કે હું બહુ જ વાંચવ્યો છું, એટલે હું બંધ જ નહીં થાવ. તમે મને ના નહીં પાડો ત્યાંથી. કઈ નહીં, ચાલો આગળ વધીએ. Then the next set of rules are about the participants. So I told you about young, old. For example, a child has a right to do something. An elder person has got. એટલે આ તો આપણા મોટેરા છે, આપણા વડીલ છે, એ કેમ કરવું પડે. So because of age, there's no other reason. That person might be a complete fool, પણ આપણા વડીલ છે, એણે કીધું એટલે આપણે કરો. અથવા બહુ જ જિદ્દી છોકરું છે, આખો દિવસ કર્યા જ કરે, બાળક છે, કઈ વાંધો નહીં, આપણે સહન કરી લેવા, મારો નહીં. હા. અથવા આ તો જુવાનીઓ છે, એને તો આપણે કઈ, જુવાનિયાનું તો લોહી આમ હોય ને, એટલે પછી કરે, આવું કરે, વાંધો નહીં, આપણે કઈ બહુ એમાં એને ઓલો ના કરો. So that according to age, there are certain rules. Every society is different. Some societies say younger people should decide everything. Some societies say older people should decide everything. So And in a family that all those things are working. Huh? I don't know if any of you is the elder brother or sister, and when the younger one wants something and is given, then you are told, "Nano છે એને આપી દે," and you feel very bad. No, must have happened to some of you. So this kind of thing is there. Age, then gender. Gender is a very big thing. That બાઈ માણસ થઈને આવું કરે છે. અરે શું વાત કરો? હા, માણસ છે, બાઈ કે ભાઈ એમાં ફેર શું પડે? પણ એ આખા સમાજમાં એક આખી એના રૂલ્સ બની ગયા. રૂલ્સ એટલે લખેલા ના હોય, એમ કોઈ કહે નહીં કે બહેનોએ હંમેશા બને ત્યાં સુધી સાડી પહેરવી, એવું કઈ લખેલું ના હોય. લગ્ન પછી હંમેશા બહેનોએ સાડી પહેરવી એવું લખેલું નથી હોતું, પણ ઘણા કુટુંબમાં એવું એક અનરિટન રૂલ હોય છે. તો પંજાબીને બધું પહેરીને નીકળતી હોય છે, એવું હોય. રાજકોટમાં નથી. રાજકોટ ઇઝ અ વેરી એડવાન્સ સિટી, પણ આમાં રહેતા હોય તો અહીંયા એવું હોય. So gender, you can see it on the TV serials, how gender plays. You can see it in our politics, how gender plays. You can see it in our family life, how gender plays. You can see it. So gender is, now there will be societies. In Kerala, for example, there are matriarchal societies, or used to be. They're also now they've, suppressed those people. But the Nair women, the property belonged to the women. So, and the property would go from mother to daughter, not father to son. So therefore, the woman did not had relations with number of men, and the children, the daughters of those children were not, they became another caste, and the children that she had with her fixed husband, the daughters of that became the next inheritor of the property. And therefore, the Nair women were very powerful. Very powerful. So there are societies like that in Northeast also, but not very many. So gender is a big thing in the organization of institutions. Then there is roles. So હવે મોટા ભાઈ, આપણા મોટા ભાઈ, એટલે મોટા ભાઈ કરે એટલે હવે એને બધી જવાબદારી. So that is a role, or you say this is something which the secretary of this institution will write down the minutes of. So that's a role. So every role will have rules, and then it will depend on power also. So how much power you have. So there will be rules for regulating roles, gender, age, power, status, all of these things that you will see in every form of institution. Okay, so then what else does the institutional form control? What do the other things the institution control? So the next thing it controls is space. Now this is very interesting to architects. Let's say up and down. So depending on a society, depending on the particular institution, up will have a value, down will have another value. ખૂબ ઊંડો અંદર ઉતર્યો એમ કીધું કે એ પરાકાષ્ઠાએ ગયું. So up has a value, down has a value. In some cases, down has more value. In some cases, up has more value. Now, imagine a building. Is the uppermost room the most important one, or the one which is nearest to the ground, or one which is even in a basement? Depending on the institution, the space, the rules of that space will be different. So in a temple, it will be different from a bank. So the bank vault will be underground. ખજાનો અંદર પડ્યો છે, અંદર ઉતરો. You've been to the bank locker rooms. Normally they are built in basement. So more secure, go inside. Okay, so up and down, right and left. It's a big thing. Certain things you can only do with your right hand. Left hand is not to be used. So right, so in Gujarati, દાબેરી વિચારસરણી એટલે અથવા વામપંથી એટલે કોમ્યુનિસ્ટ અને આપણે તો એની સાથે ભળાય જ નહીં ને એવું બધું, બરાબર? અથવા તાંત્ર જે રિલિજનમાં, ઇટ્સ કોલ્ડ ધ લેફ્ટ હેન્ડ મેથડ, tantric. So the left and right are very meaningful. So therefore in architecture there is the symmetry of a plan which forms a right and a left might start becoming meaningful from the point of view of institutions. It might. Then front and back. It's right in front. It's deep inside. It's at the back. You can't go to it straight away. You have to go through the whole thing. Then only you will come there. So the most important thing, will it be at the end of a long journey, or will it be at the very beginning presenting itself? Again, the rules of space affect the expression of institutions. Front and back, in and out. It's an inside thing. It's out in the open. અંદરની વાત છે આ તો, એટલે કે સિક્રેટ છે, કોઈને કહેવાની. છડે ચોક બાર કે છે એવું આપણે કહીએ ગુજરાતી. So there is a value to being transparent and open, which says open. Value to being somewhat discreet and secret, which says inside. But inside also means safe. Outside means unsafe. Inside means taken care of. Outside means nobody knows what will happen to you. So the in and out are also different. So if the child misbehaves, then it is told to stand outside the class. બહાર જઈને ઉભો રહે, જા દરવાજાની બહાર ઉભો રહે. કરતા હતા કે નહીં સ્કૂલમાં તમારે? એટલે but for example, if you are a young person growing up, being inside the house is one meaning, being outside is another meaning. And it will be different from boys and it will be different for girls. For boys, being outside will mean, I don't worry. I can do whatever I want. I'm a free bird now. I'm grown up. I can do what I like. For girls, it will be, I'm thrown out. Or I'm being very adventurous. I'm being adventurous. બધી છોકરીઓ આપણે ચાલો બહાર જઈએ, કોઈને કહેશું નહીં. So that in and out, deep and surface. Like that, if I take, I can take other words about space. Structured and random. what is better? Structured is better or random is better? તમને શું લાગે છે? એમ એકદમ ગોઠવણી સરનું સ્ટ્રક્ચર, હા, અને સ્પોન્ટેનિયસ, ફ્રી, કયું સારું? સ્પાશિયલી. તમારે રમવું હોય તો એવું એક ગ્રાઉન્ડ હોય કે જેમાં દોડા દોડ કરી શકું ફ્રીલી, હા. પણ પછી if I want to play cricket, then I need to structure it. I need a pitch. I need 2 ends. Then I need the boundary. I need to do that. If I play football or I play any other game. So there is value to structure in formal games. There is value to freedom and randomness in free play. So is free better or is structured better? I don't know. It will depend on the institution. What is the institution that you are answering to? The institution of play or the institution of competition with rules? So then, closed and open. It's a closed society. You can only be a member if you are invited. It's open to all. So closed and open also have meaning. Dark and light. It was dark, or it was full of light. Which one is better? So again, it will depend on the institution. Yeah, there was a mysterious darkness in which that one lamp spread a glow. That's one thing. The other one, it says there was so much light that everything was visible. There was nothing which was more important or less. It would be like that. So opaque and transparent. So all of these characteristics of space are ways in which you create the rules of an institution. Now you go back and look at your own house and see where all these rules are operating. It will be very interesting for you. Yeah? Then there are rules for time. So before and after, which is better? That which happened before. આ તો આપણે સદીઓ પહેલા આપણે ત્યાં થયું છે. એ સારું કે નવી સદીમાં હવે આપણે જોયું નથી એવી વસ્તુ થશે? Which is better? So depending on the institution, nobody will say, in relation to family, that it is an experiment in forming relations for reproduction. Nobody will say that. They'll be scared to say that, even if they want to do that. Yeah. But they will say, in the tradition of human families, ours is one more, and we live forever now through this family. Yeah? So, time, the characteristics of time are useful for creating institutional expression, before and after, past and future. So for certain things, past is valuable. For certain things, future is valuable. Old and new. Yeah, અતીતનો આપણી પાસે હેરિટેજ છે. અરે, it is something of the future. It is futuristic. So what kind of Rajkot do you want? You want a Rajkot of heritage, or you want a Rajkot of the future? These are the questions which will be bothering all Rajkot people, no? So, that's the next one. Slow and fast. That it's moving too fast. We would like doing it slowly. We cook slowly. We eat slowly. And the other one says, no. Now it's a matter of, move. In a day, I want to do so many things. I want fast. And I want food straight away. I want to eat it like this, and then I want to get on with the doing so and so. I do 100 things in a day. I have to put up so many Instagram photos all the time. So, fast or slow, patterned or random, time which is patterned, time which is random. Patterned એટલે કેવું કે સવારે ઉઠ્યા પછી ફલાણું પછી ફલાણું આમ 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 દર મહિને આવી રીતના એક વખતે આમ કરીએ દર 11 અમે એકટાણું કરીએ. That is pattern time versus free કે એવું કાંઈ નહીં, અમારે એવું કાંઈ નથી રાખવું. હા, મને જે હું સવારે ઉઠું મન થાય ને હું કરીશ, જાઓ મને કચકચ ના કર, છોડી દે. That is, so both of these are values. These values support certain notions of institution. They express certain kinds of institutional rules, cyclical and linear. So all cultures up to a certain point used to believe that પહેલા golden age, પછી કેવા યુગ, આપણા 4 યુગ કેવા? હા, કોઈને ખબર છે?
સતયુગ, ત્રેતાયુગ, દ્વાપરયુગ અને કળિયુગ.
હા, એટલે આમ બગડતો જ ગયો. શરૂઆતમાં એકદમ સુંદર સતયુગ, પછી બગડતું ગયું, પછી થોડુંક બગડ્યું, પછી બગડ્યું, સાવ બગડી ગયું કલયુગમાં. પછી વિષ્ણુએ આખું પ્રલય કરીને અંદર લઈ લીધું પાછું. પછી પાછું નીકળશે ત્યારે પાછું સતયુગ થશે. And it is a cycle which keeps on doing. That's one way of thinking about time. The other way of thinking about time is mankind progresses. We knew so much, now we know so much, now we'll know so much, now we'll know so much, now we'll know so much, and it will be continuous progress in a straight line. That's the other view of time. And institutions are built. You can find out whether an institution is built for progress or for continuity in a circular form. That is time. Last, I would talk about the materials and how they also become expressive of institutional values. So there are durable materials and ephemeral materials. It's made of solid granite. That place, so and so died, and to make a memory of him, they made a granite plinth, which will never go. For 2000 years, it will be like that because it's granite. And the other one comes and says, I'll put a flower here. It is so beautiful and it is so fragile that it expresses the best of life. That is what I want to offer that person. I know that tomorrow the flower will wilt and go away. But right now, when I am offering it, it is fresh. It is completely beautiful. So I don't care if it doesn't last 2000 years. So which one is a better tribute? The granite or the flower? The permanent or the durable or the ephemeral? Ephemeral એટલે બે ઘડીમાં, એટલે દીવો કરી એની યાદમાં આપણે એક દીવો કરીએ. અરે બાપા, દીવો કેટલો ચાલશે ના, પણ દીવો કરીએ ને એટલે મનમાં ખુશ થઈ. પછી કહેશે કે અખંડ દીવો કરશું. પછી કેટલી પેઢી સુધી એમાં ઘી નાખતા રહેશો, પછી ભૂલી જશે તો દીવો એટલે અખંડ ના હોય. દીવો એટલે દીવો, બળતણ હોય ત્યાં સુધી રહે. But that is ephemeral. The beauty of the ephemeral, the beauty of the durable. And accordingly, it will serve for different institutions. The unchanging or the changing, the progressing, the spontaneous, the hard, rough, dull. I have make it out of hard, rough material so that it is like something that came from the earth. Or I make it soft, smooth, shining like glass. And it makes it so fragile and so beautiful. I can make it fragrant. I can make it smelly. It will remind you that this is where life ended. I'll make it all one color. I will make it multicolored. I will make it sweet or salty, or I will make it sour and bitter. All of these sensory qualities start also attaching to the message of the institutional rules. So you will find in your house also, you will find messages, sensory messages. રસોડાની સુગંધ અને પૂજાના રૂમની સુગંધ એ બેની સુગંધમાં ફેર હોય, એ બેની લાઇટમાં ફેર હોય. ત્યાં તમે પાણી જુદી જુદી રીતે વાપરો. So the whole thing, your house is a wonderful study of how an institution expresses its mores, its rules, by location and by quality and by meaning in terms of time. Space, time, and material. All three in any institution start becoming expressive values. Last 2 points now. Do the rules remain the same? No, never. Because the next generation always says, they've made too many rules. I don't like it. I want to be free here. How can you do this to me? જે મળે એની સાથે મારે લગ્ન કરો, એમાં તમે ના શેની પાડો? એવું કે પછી રૂલ્સ બદલાય. અમુક મા બાપ એમ કે તો પછી તું અમારી નહીં, જા. ને અમુક એમ કે સારું ચાલો, એ આપણો દીકરો જ કહેવાય, હવે આપણે રાખીએ. એટલે એ રૂલ્સ બદલાય. રૂલ્સ બદલાય શું કામ? એક તો લોકોની people's desires changed, but the other reason is that the things that they use change. For example, if you are a group of hunters, then the relations and the institutions and the forms of behavior are different than if you are farmers. Farmers want the same annual cycle to continue. Hunters are all constantly on the lookout for new animals. Yeah, and their outlook is different. Therefore, the institutions are different. So from hunter, if you became a farmer, you will have to change your institutions. From farmer, if you became a trader, you will have to change your institutions. From trader, you became an industrialist or a producer of something, you'll have to change your institutions, because the mental outlook and the kind of organization of your life will have to be different in order to successfully do one or the other. Think about it. Imagine yourself to be part of a band of hunters. Then imagine yourself to be part of a community of farmers. Then imagine yourself to be an inventor of, let's say, electric bulbs, and then you are producing bulbs. What will be your mindset different? Yeah? So there will be, and accordingly the institutions will change. The institutions cannot be the same for different kinds of survival. There will be different ways of organizing life, and accordingly institutions will change. So the moment the motor car or the railway line or the telephone the mobile, these things come in, the organization of institutions change. With internet, everything changed. With social media, everything changed. And you come with new institutions. Right now, with the social media, we are still experimenting and we are finding a lot of problems because messages are going out without any sort of truth content. And then how do you get the true things out? How do you do that? And that we haven't found out as yet. But it will come. There will be some ways in which the institution will develop, the institution of the media. So in that way. So finally, let us come back and say all institutions are expressions of values that are commonly held, that a group of people at a certain time agree to hold. That we say, yes, I think the family is important. I think the community is important. I think education is important. I think health is a good thing to do, etc. We agree upon that and we form the institutions which make it possible to fructify, to make active the agreement that we have reached. And they are interconnected. The institutions, all the different kinds of the whole paraphernalia of institutions that mankind has made, all are interrelated to some fundamental values that each society tacitly, that is not explicitly, doesn't write it down, but there are values which they hold in common. The values are things like be kind, be just, be equality is a good thing, such kinds of values. Then against that, you can check, does this institution work or not? And you say, no, it is being unjust to so and so. Therefore, that institution needs to change. So it is a complex system of the rules of relationship in a society. And every formatted kind of institution that we design as architectural product is an expression of the values that are held high and the values which we would like to keep out. It is a way of saying, we believe in so and so, we think this is better. Therefore, we make a space in a certain way. We make we use time in a certain way. We use material in a certain way. And we create an expression which is the parallel of the rules of institution forming. I think that is enough for the day. You have questions? Any questions?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can we just go back to the last point which you talked about, that all institutions are an expression
of values.
expression of values that are agreeable to a society, and
Yeah.
and the form responds to that, right?
Yes.
એવું કીધું ને
Right.
તમે? I'm just trying to repeat.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah. Students, questions?
શબ્દોનો મારો એવો થયો છે કે બિચારા ચૂપ થઈ ગયા.
ઢગલો.
કઈ વાંધો નહીં, પછી પૂછજો. હમણાં ના પૂછો તો આવતા વખતે આપણે એવું કરી શકીએ, every time we can have, before we start, we can have questions from the last time. So in these 5 lectures, we'll do that.
હા.
સર, મારે એક પ્રશ્ન છે.
Yes.
હા સર, આપણા ડિસ્કશનમાં મેં એવું લખ્યું છે કે ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યુશન એ અમુક પ્રકારનું વેલ્યુ જનરેટ કરે છે અને એ reproduction as a generator of that value is extremely important. તો આપણે જો સ્કૂલનું એક્ઝામ્પલ લઈએ તો you said the schools are the production of the industrialization, but then there are schools in our times which are functioning differently, and they are focusing on the more of a value systems of learning and growing compared to the way. But eventually, when we look at the architecture of it, it more or less sets into a value of classroom. Or so,
Yeah.
I mean, how do we
So-
really understand this phenomenon?
So give me half a minute to think. I also need to attach my laptop to the power source because it is low. Yeah. So part of it is habitual, you know. You can deal with a certain number of students at a time. Therefore, you make groups of students. Then that becomes a class. And class must have its own space where it keeps its things. Yeah. But not all schools are like that. For example, in the 1960s, in the US, they had one big experiment of schools in which what they did was they would make one large hall. In one part of it, there would be a place where you could be on soft things and there were books all around. Another place was where you could, there were all the materials for painting were provided. Another place, there was a blackboard. Another place, there was something else and something else and something else. That was a room full of different kinds of things. And 100, 200, 300 children would be in that. And there would be also older people, teachers, who would be also in that. Some would be near blackboards, some would be near the books, some would be near, and they would be carrying on activities, and the child was free to go wherever it wanted. So there was one such experiment, and it was quite a successful experiment. You know, this TED Talks was started by Richard Saul Gorman, who did one huge exercise in education. He used to work in Khan's office, and then I think he had a fight with Khan and left. So anyway, he ran. He challenged the schools in Philadelphia that I can teach children in a better than you can. So they gave him one bunch of 7-year-old kids, some 20, 30, or maybe fewer, 15, 20. So he had no classroom. So they would meet in a garden or somewhere. Then he would say, today, what shall we do? And they would say, we want to see a shop. So then they would go to a shop. Then they would see what's happening. And they would do, maybe buy something and come back. From all this, he started teaching them numbers, arithmetic, reading, and geography and history by simply walking around in the city. So his thing was the city is the classroom, which Khan had said. A street is a place where a child walking past can find out what it wants to be when it grows up. That's what Khan said. And Saul Berman took it seriously and he ran this. And his children, the ones who studied in that system, were much better at most of the things than those who had been through standard schooling from the best schools. And so there is a book. In fact, it's there in the SEP library on Saul Berman has written a book on this, on the kind of exercises he did with these children. And they learned everything. I mean, everything that you learn in school. So it's more of a habitual thing, or sometimes it is that you have to convince the parents that, you know, the child will not become a wild thing. You know, you can trust us. So in Rishi Valley, for example, the youngest children I've seen, they are playing mostly outside. There's no classroom inside. They're not there. And but then later they become very good at maths also. There's some excellent, then literature, history, all of these things. So it is the rules can be reinterpreted, can be thought of. When I said it is an industrialized mode, I was making a bit of a comment, which is not 100% true also. But it is somehow true. You can see that you become standardized creatures. Everybody, you know, you remember there were some teachers who used to call you by roll numbers, who never remembered your names, who only remembered your roll numbers. Still, even today, that teacher, if somebody comes, he's an old man now, but he still remembers the roll number. એટલે બ્રિંદા આવે તો એમ કે ફલાણી 91 કે એવું કંઈક કહેતા હશે.
2692.
હજી એવું કે yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
so just one last thing. Sorry, I'm students, but you know, Professor Chhaya is my teacher too, and I have every right to ask him questions whenever I want to. So, okay, so basically, this puts us into a place where there are set of rules, values, and the kind of activity which generates space. So if I want to understand, તો એક જમ્બલર સોર્ટર જેવું એક વસ્તુ થઈ આખી કે તમે કેવી રીતે વસ્તુઓને સોર્ટ કરો છો અને એ સોર્ટ કરવાથી તમે કેવી વેલ્યુ એમાંથી લેવા માંગો છો અને એ વેલ્યુ તમે કરી અને પછી એમાંથી તમે એને શું અપ્રોપ્રિએટ બોક્સમાં મૂકો છો જેથી કરીને એ વેલ્યુ ઉભરાઈને આવે. બરોબર ને? એવું જ કંઈક ને?
Yes. Correct. See, for example, the idea of dining room or bedroom. Let's take bedroom. It's even better. There was never any such name. But when the personal and completely private relationship between man and woman became the most important thing in the family. Previously, it was what? The solidarity of the whole group. So there were several brothers, their wives, their children, grandparents, etc., and some other relatives also at times. So that the couple was not the main unit. You didn't have to build a temple to their couplehood. Now the bedroom is a kind of temple. Others cannot go in. Pujari kon? પૂજારી એ લોકો બે જ, બીજા કોઈએ પૂછીને જવું પડે. ના એ તો એનો રૂમ છે, એમાં આપણે નહીં. એવું પહેલા નહોતું. આખા કુટુંબની જગ્યા હતી અને પછી એ લોકોને પર્સનલ રિલેશન્સ માટે જેમ તેમ કરીને જગ્યા શોધી કાઢે. એ પણ ખોટું હતું અમુક રીતે. I don't need by, I think, Amol Palekar, about a house in Mumbai. Hindi are excellent for understanding the house as the expression of family. There used to be, when I was a child, there was a film called Ghar Sansar. એમાં એવું થાય છે કે જેઠાણી ને દેરાણી વચ્ચે ઝઘડો થાય છે એટલે ઘરની વચ્ચેથી દિવાલ બાંધે છે, આખું છૂટું પાડે છે બે ભાગ. અને બહુ બહુ હસવા જેવી હતી ફિલ્મ. એવી બધી બહુ થતી હતી ત્યારે. અને અત્યારે હવે ટીવીમાં સિરિયલ્સમાં થતું હશે, આઈ સપોઝ. So that's the primary institution. Actually, the family is the primary institution which connects all these institutions.
એટલે તમે જે એક્સરસાઇઝ લખી છે એન્ડ ઓફ ઇટ, તો એ આપણે આજે આપી દેવી જોઈએ, તો કાલે અમે એને કંઈક આગળ વધારીએ.
Ah, they should start. They should start. That I will leave it to you people to do.
યસ, ઓકે, શ્યોર સર, ફાઇન. એટલે હું વિચારતી હતી કાલે સવારે જ એ જ આખું, અને આઈ વોઝ થિંકિંગ કે મે બી વી કેન ટોક લેટર, બટ ટુ ડુ ઇટ ઇન અ મેનર ઇન વિચ there is a first year learning also involved, because they did something like that in first year. Where આપણે ખબર છે બહુ સરસ એક વાત થયેલી ફર્સ્ટ યરમાં, બીજા જ્યારે તમે જ્યુરી માટે ઇપ્સા આવેલા ફાઇનલ એક્ઝિબિશન માટે, ત્યારે સ્ટોરીમાંથી નેરેટિવમાંથી એ લોકોએ પેલા નાના નાના હ્યુમન બનાવેલા ને એના બબલ્સ ડ્રો કરેલા હતા. અને ત્યારે તમે એવી વાત કરેલી કે જ્યારે બે માણસ વચ્ચે મિત્રો હોય ત્યારે એનો બબલ કેવો બને, જ્યારે બે માણસો એકબીજાના દુશ્મન હોય ત્યારે એ બંને વચ્ચેનો કેવો બબલ બને, જ્યારે માણસ અને કોઈ એનિમલ બંને ફ્રેન્ડ્સ છે તો એનો બબલ કેવો બનશે. So we had a discussion like that, and I think it was a very intelligent discussion, and now I can relate that with the talk you did right now, because eventually it's the boundary we are really defining here with set of rules, of course.
Correct. Correct.
Yes.
So the thing to keep in mind, the space, what are the rules for space in your house? What are the rules for time in your house? And what are the ways in which material is used to express different qualities in your house? If you do that, you will automatically start generating some diagrams. Yeah, and yeah, you're right. You can go back to the first year exercise because there's already things there. They could also do like this, Riddhi, that the housing project that they did last time.
Yes.
That also, so they can take their house and the house that they had designed, and then you take one third house which is in some other culture, say West African or some part of Japan, China, like that. Take one completely different culture and put these three houses side by side and see what are they expressing, how are they expressing through the plan form and through the sequencing of spaces, through the qualities that are given to different spaces. Yeah, they can do that. So time is maybe not available for all the types, but space certainly you can read it in the point, and qualities you will see it in the photograph.
Yes.
Yeah, material. So maybe they can do that. That will give a very, very interesting comparative chart.
Okay.
Huh? એટલે એક મીરો બોર્ડ કે તમે જે વાપરતા કોન્સેપ્ટ બોર્ડ એમાં બધું ઓર્ગેનાઇઝ કરે એવી રીતે.
હા
My own house, the house that I designed
હમ.
and its neighborhood, my own house and my neighborhood, the house that I designed and its neighborhood, and the house in another culture. And then they
Yeah.
bring out some keywords. Then they make some diagrams of that. And they just put, all students can put this thing. And it will give a very, very interesting analysis of the family as an institution.
Institution. Yeah. Okay.
All
Banu.
right.
Ha. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
See you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
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 Thank you, sir.